I'm sitting here in downtown Brenham this afternoon. I hope there's not too much noise. There's probably music and traffic. It's a small town, so it shouldn't be too bad. I hope you can still hear me. I'm not going to redo this video. All right, Matthew 5:21 to 24. You have heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council, and whoever says you fool will be liable to the hell of fire. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. So a lot of Yeshua's statements when he was talking, especially when he was talking to the Pharisees or the Sadducees, and he talked about the law, are very easy to misunderstand. A lot of people think that he was disputing the law itself, or canceling some part of the law or changing it. That's not at all what was going on. Yeshua never disputed the law itself. He never taught against the law of Moses, never changed it, never canceled any part of it. He taught obedience to the law in everything he did. What he did in these passages was correct a bad understanding of the law. The Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes and other teachers had elevated their own teachings above those of Moses and God. They had corrupted the law of Moses into the traditions of man, and by their very traditions, they made the law of God of no effect. They prevented people from keeping the law in order to keep their traditions. Here in this passage, Yeshua is not saying that it's never wrong to be angry. It's never wrong even to hate necessarily. Let me read a passage from the Torah itself. This is Leviticus 19:17. It says, "You shall not hate your brother in your heart, but you shall reason frankly with your neighbor, lest you incur sin because of him." This is exactly what Yeshua is teaching here. He's not teaching against the law. He's teaching the whole law instead of just a part of it. Now people, let me get back to my reading in Matthew. They had heard that it's okay to harbor the hatred or anger in your heart, or to express contempt for people who were less than you or who didn't have the same understanding as you, as long as you didn't actually physically hurt them. Now, some people who have only made a very cursory reading of the law of Moses or the Torah have come to this same conclusion, that that's what the Torah teaches, but that's not at all what it teaches. There is no punishment in Torah for hating your brother in your heart. The only punishment in this case is for actually doing harm, stealing from him, injuring him, murdering him. Those are the things that we are authorized to punish. We are not authorized to punish states of the heart. That's reserved for God and God alone. He commands against it. You will not hate your brother in your heart. But he doesn't say, if your neighbor hates his brother in his heart, you will do this to him. God doesn't allow us to punish people for their beliefs or their thoughts. We're only allowed to punish people for what they actually do against other people, or against God in some cases. So judgment in those cases is reserved for God and God alone. But then Yeshua goes on and talks about offerings at the temple. There are 5 general categories of sacrifice that were made, and there are other kind of subcategories. 2 of the major categories is a sin offering and a peace offering. Now, if you have committed some sin and you're going to the temple and you're going to offer a sin offering, if you're still sinning, even if nobody else can see that sin, what's the point of bringing a sin offering? You can't ask for forgiveness for something you haven't repented of yet. Yeshua is saying here, if you are harboring hatred for your brother in your heart, don't go and offer a sin offering for stealing from him. You need to make that other thing right. You need to get it right in your heart first. Only then will your sin offering have its intended effect. If you are going to bring a peace offering to God, God, thank you for all that you've given me, and I'm going to have a party with all my neighbors, and we're going to eat this offering together. Well, what about this other guy that you've been harboring ill will or resentment against? What about this guy that you've offended, that you did something wrong to, and he's harboring an offense against you? You need to make peace with these people. Before you bring your peace offering and sacrifice it and share it with all your friends, go find that person that you've been harboring animosity towards, or who is harboring animosity towards you, and try to make peace with them. Reason with them, as Torah says. Have a conversation. Don't express contempt. Don't just call them names and walk away. Find out what's going on. Find out the source of the problem if you can, and try to work it out. And then invite him to the Thanksgiving offering. Make him your neighbor. Be a good neighbor to the guy that you've offended. Maybe you'll have a lifelong friend instead of an enemy in your heart. Just remember, when you're reading the words of Yeshua in the scriptures, there is a much greater context to everything he wrote. A hyper-literal reading of Yeshua's words will lead you astray. He never taught against Torah. Find the basis in Torah for the words of Messiah in the Gospels, and you'll have a much deeper, much broader understanding of what he really meant. This is Jake Harper from American Torah. Go make peace with your brother and be blessed.